Hey everyone, here is part two of my birth story. So, when I left off on part one, I was mentioning that I had a pretty awful nurse that was not very helpful and just kind of let me sleep. And even though I was 10 centimeters dilated for about 5 hours, she was just not really great. But I had an awesome nurse the night before on Tuesday when I first kind of checked in, and she came back and luckily she saw that I was still um, in the labor room, and she was so cute. She's like, I saw your name on the list that you were still here, so when we were assigning patients and stuff, I made sure I had you because I didn't understand why you were still here. So when the nurses come in and they basically catch each other up on what's going on, she was like, oh, she tried to push, but it didn't work. And it was like, well, no, I tried to push and it really, really hurt. And you didn't do anything about it. And you just kind of told me to, lay back down and we'll try again later. And you never really did. So when my new nurse, her name was Autumn, came in that we had the night before, that was awesome. So Autumn equals awesome. Great nurse. Um, she was like, once the old nurse left, she goes, okay, I'm going to get an epidural specialist because we're going to numb you more on the right side, because if your left leg is completely numb and you can still feel it pretty well on your right side, we need to do something about it. Um, and so she immediately called that. And then literally, like, after they came in and they gave me more, because like I said, that pump that they give you to give you more on your epidural, that, I don't think it really works. So they gave me another shot in my back. It was great. I was more numb on my right side. I was still pretty numb on my left, to the point of like I said, I really couldn't move anything. But I was at least more evenly numbed up, and I could feel the contractions a little bit, like what you should. Like I feel a contraction coming, and then we start to go ahead with the pushing process, and that actually worked out pretty well, because then around 3:30 on Wednesday I started to push, and I it was pretty exhausting. But the nice part was is that in the bed, and I'm pretty sure all hospitals kind of do that. They have the where you basically put your knees up and you can kind of like push down like this, or they have like the little bars that you can hold. My nurse even like had like a big like heavy duty sheet that if we wanted to do kind of like a tug of war thing, which that was pretty comical. I don't know how people do that, because I literally had like no strength after going through all that. So I said, I don't think this is gonna work. I think I'm just gonna let go and you're gonna fall on your face, and I don't want that to happen. So let's just stick with like the bars or just holding my legs. So that's what we ended up doing. And it's amazing, if you've never given birth, of how much those nurses are basically there like 100% of the time. And I think that's why it's so important to have a really good hospital and a really good nurse when you're in the pushing process, because the doctor doesn't come in until very, very late in the process. Like literally, like baby's crowning, they call the doctor. He or she comes in, puts on scrubs and sees where you're at, and was like, okay, let's go, let's go. And that's basically what happened. Like his head started coming out, and I was trying, but you get so exhausted. I pushed for about 3.5 hours, and we were basically taking bets on like, okay, it's about 6 o'clock, let's see, I'm gonna pick 6:15, and then be like, okay, who, and my doctor was great. She kind of was just, I think it's gonna be like 6:45, and it was funny. And my doctor was fantastic. I've had her for a long, long time, and she is like a super peppy person. So I call her like a little cheerleader, because like when I get in there, she is very positive. Like, you're doing great, Natalie. Keep pushing. You're almost there. Like, give it all your strength. Give it all you got. I mean, if you feel like it's a coach, basically like during like a meet or something. Um, but I couldn't have basically done it without both my nurse, Autumn, and my doctor. They were fantastic. And of course, my husband, too, because he was still in charge of my left leg that was numb. But I was just, I think, in awe of when I saw his head. That's something that I don't think I'll ever forget. It's like ingrained in my mind. Um, they usually, when you get to the part of the process where he's crowning, my husband's like, oh, you can see his hair, he's got a lot of dark hair. And and I opted off not having the mirror come down, because I think I wanted to focus, and I didn't necessarily want to see that. And maybe for pregnancy number two, I will. But um, I think once the head comes out, you can pretty much see everything in terms of the baby, and that's kind of what I wanted anyway. So it was really, really just amazing to see him come out. And once we kind of got through the shoulders, everything just kind of, he came out like perfect, and his head was a little uneven because I had been pushing so long, poor thing. Um, and I thought I was going to be like completely just a mess, like waterworks and everything. And I think I was so in awe of the whole process and seeing my son for the first time. I was just like, I think my mouth was just dropped. I mean, I was just like, oh my God. And I just tried to take in every second because I knew I would never get that back with him. And I knew that it would be something that I would remember for the rest of my life. And luckily, we had nurses and my husband taking pictures, and we have video, not of the birth, but after when they were cleaning him up. And that was amazing. And, I look at him now, and he's actually sitting right over here on his little play yard. And I'm just like, I love him so much. I literally could cry if I talk about it too much. But, um, it's just an amazing, amazing process. And I'm overusing the word amazing, I know, but don't be afraid of giving birth. Don't be afraid of, going through everything. You forget the moment he or she arrives, and it makes it all worth it. And just enjoy every single second because, I'm looking back on um, my whole experience and now having to go back to work here in the next week. And, I miss having him that close to me all the time. And I know it's going to be hard. And I just cherish in those moments that, he was still inside me and we were still so close. One of the things I do want to mention is that when they say that the baby knows the mama's voice in utero from when I forget what week, it's ultimately true because he came out crying, of course, and they basically give him a little wipe off and then they put him like literally right on your stomach. And my first reaction was, I was like, oh my gosh, hi, sweetheart. And he stopped crying and looked up at me, and he did not make a peep after that. And he was just holding my finger, and I was just like, oh my God, hi, baby. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And he was just, his eyes were open, and it was kind of like, this is the person that I've heard for the last 9 months. And it was an amazing, amazing moment, and I cherish that all the time. And it's so funny because when we talk about stories with friends or coworkers or people in the neighborhood or whatever about, that's the first thing that my husband and I bring up is that the moment he came out and heard my voice, he immediately stopped crying. And that's truly like the best gift of being a mom is just having that bond and knowing that that child actually recognizes you right off the bat. So that is my birth story. So I hope if we have number two, it's not as long because mine was 27 hours total, but I wouldn't change it for the world because I have a perfect little boy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to just cherishing this last week before I go back to work with him. And again, like I said, I would do it all over again. Even 27 hours of labor, I do all over again and not even change a thing just to have him here. So I hope if you're still pregnant right now and going through the same process, I hope you have a wonderful, great delivery and a healthy, healthy baby. And thanks again for watching.